Imagine starting your day with a fresh cup of coffee, sunlight streaming through your window, but deep down you hear a voice whispering, "You'll never really speak English."
I heard that voice every single day. I'd tried everything: apps, courses, vocabulary lists, endless grammar drills. I could understand English perfectly, but when it came to actually speaking, my mind went blank. I felt trapped in my own silence, discouraged, and ready to give up. But then, something unexpected happened. I didn't move abroad. I didn't buy a fancy new course. Instead, I stumbled upon three simple habits. They seemed insignificant, almost too easy, but these tiny daily actions ended up transforming my English completely.
If you've ever felt stuck like this, you're not alone. And if this journey resonates with you, hit the like button right now. By doing that, you're letting YouTube know exactly what kind of content helps you so it can recommend more inspiring stories that will boost your English faster and more naturally. Now, let me take you back to that moment when everything began to change. Welcome to Stories to Learn English, the channel where your English gets better every day. Hit subscribe and let's get started.
My name is Anna. I live in a small town in Brazil, where English always felt like a distant dream. At school, I passed my English exams, but honestly, I didn't learn much. I could recognize a few words, maybe understand some lyrics from American songs. But when it came to speaking, I froze every single time. I remember one day at work, my boss asked me to help a tourist, just a simple conversation, but I panicked. I smiled, nodded, and said, nothing. I walked away embarrassed, my heart pounding. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about English anymore. It was about confidence, about freedom. And I didn't have either. I started searching. I tried courses online, watched grammar tutorials, downloaded language apps. But nothing seemed to stick. I would study for a week, then stop. I was tired, tired of forgetting everything, tired of feeling like English was something I could never truly own. Then something unexpected happened. I reconnected with Daniel, a guy I hadn't seen since high school. We met for coffee, and to my surprise, he was speaking fluent English, effortlessly, confidently. He hadn't studied abroad. He wasn't a genius. So I asked him, "How did you learn?" He looked at me, smiled, and said,
It's not about learning more. It's about doing less, but doing it every single day.
that one sentence stayed with me. It echoed in my mind on the bus, in the shower, at night when I couldn't sleep. And little did I know it was the beginning of everything. Daniel didn't talk about grammar rules or textbooks. He didn't show me an expensive course or some new app. Instead, he handed me a small piece of paper. On it were just three things written in his own handwriting. Simple. Director. He said,
Do these three things every day. That's how I learned. No tricks, no shortcuts, just habits.
at first I was skeptical. It sounded too easy. But deep down, I knew what I was doing wasn't working. So I made a decision. I would stop chasing methods. I would stop jumping from app to app, from video to video. For the next 30 days, I would commit to just these three habits. No excuses, no overthinking, just action. I taped the list to my bedroom wall. Every morning I saw it. Every evening I checked it. And on that first day, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Not because I believed in the habits yet, but because, for once, I had a simple path to follow, a real human rhythm. And so I began, slowly, quietly, but with everything I had. I started the very next morning. Habit number 1. Listen to English every day, no matter what. Not with subtitles, not to study, just to listen, to absorb. I chose something simple, an English story on YouTube. I played it while brushing my teeth, not taking notes, not trying too hard, just letting the words fill the room. At first, it felt pointless. I couldn't understand much. The voices moved too fast. The words blended together. But I kept going. That evening, I listened again, this time while cooking. And something happened. I caught a phrase, wake up early. Then another, have breakfast. These weren't vocabulary words I had memorized. They were real, used in real sentences, spoken in real situations. After a few days, the same phrases started to show up again and again. Suddenly, English didn't feel like a random puzzle. It felt like a pattern I was slowly learning to recognize. 2 weeks in, I could guess the meaning of whole sentences just from the way they sounded. And even when I didn't understand everything, I understood enough. Because now my ears were getting stronger, like a muscle finally being used the right way. I didn't need to be perfect. I just needed to show up every day and press play. And the more I listened, the more English became a part of my world, without me even realizing it. The second habit was the strangest one. Talk to yourself in English, every day, out loud. At first, I laughed. Talk to myself? Like, have a conversation with the mirror? It felt awkward, ridiculous, maybe even a little crazy. But I remembered what Daniel said.
Fluency doesn't start in conversations with others. It starts in conversations with yourself.
So, I tried. The next morning, I stood in front of my mirror. I looked myself in the eyes and said, "Good morning. How are you feeling today?" There was silence. I didn't know what to answer. So I smiled and said, "I'm tired, but ready. I'm learning. I'm growing." It wasn't perfect, but it was real. Day by day, I started talking more. What will I do today? I have a meeting. I need to buy groceries. Nothing complicated, just simple sentences, real thoughts, real life.
And slowly, something incredible happened. The fear started to fade, the hesitation, the doubt, the overthinking, they got quieter.
Because I was practicing speaking in a safe space. No pressure, no judgment, just me and my voice. I noticed my pronunciation improving. My confidence grew, and I started thinking in English, just a little, but enough to feel the shift. This habit didn't just help me speak better, it helped me believe I could actually do it. And for the first time when I spoke English, it didn't feel like I was pretending. It felt like I was becoming the version of me I had always imagined.
The third habit felt simple, but it turned out to be the most powerful. Read a short English text every night and repeat it out loud. Not once, not quickly, slowly, clearly.
Over and over until the words felt natural in my mouth. I chose a short story, just a few paragraphs. At first, I read it silently, like I always did. But then I remembered Daniel's advice.
If you want to speak like a native, you have to sound it out loud.
So I spoke the first sentence. She woke up early and looked out the window. I repeated it. She woke up early and looked out the window. I focused on the rhythm, the pauses, the way the words connected. I wasn't just reading, I was training my voice, training my memory, training my confidence. Each night I picked one short text. Sometimes it was a story, sometimes a motivational quote, sometimes a dialogue from a show, but always something I enjoyed, something real. By the end of the second week, I noticed something strange. When I listened to English the next day, I could feel the words before I heard them, because I had said them the night before, because my tongue had practiced them, because my brain was starting to recognize the music of the language. And just like that, I was no longer translating. I was repeating, reacting, remembering. Reading and repeating had turned English into a part of me, something I could speak, not just study. After 30 days, something inside me had shifted. I wasn't fluent, but I was free.
Free from fear. Free from that voice that used to say, "You'll never speak English."
I could follow YouTube videos without subtitles. I could speak simple sentences without freezing. I could understand what people were saying in real conversations. Not every word, but enough to respond, to connect.
It wasn't a miracle, and it wasn't perfect, but it was progress.
Real progress I could feel. And that changed everything. Because for the first time, I didn't feel like I was learning English. I felt like I was living it. And that's when I understood the truth.
Fluency doesn't come from studying more. It comes from building habits that bring the language into your life. Little by little, every single day.
The more I listened, the more I heard. The more I spoke, the more natural it felt. The more I read and repeated, the more the words stuck in my mind like old friends. English was no longer something I was chasing. It was something I was becoming. Maybe you're feeling how I felt.
Frustrated. Tired of trying and failing. Tired of starting again and again and again.
But here's what I learned.
You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to know every word. You just need momentum. And momentum is built one habit at a time. Start small. Play English audio while making breakfast. Talk to yourself while driving or walking. Read one short story before bed, out loud, slowly, like a conversation. These habits are simple, but when done with heart, they become powerful. They shape your brain, they shape your voice, they shape your confidence. If I did it, you can too.
Not because I'm special, but because I stopped waiting for the perfect method and started doing what actually works.
So now it's your turn. If this story made sense to you, like this video, that way YouTube will understand what helps you and it'll show you more videos like this. Stories that inspire and improve your English. And tell me in the comments, what's one word or phrase you learned today? Maybe it was momentum, or wake up early, or speak out loud. Write it down because when you write, you remember. And when you remember, you grow. Congratulations for watching until the end. I'm proud of you. And I'll see you in the next video.